Yeah, so what has actually happened here is Starmer has banned ninja swords. Have we a definition in law of a ninja sword?
It's in the Magna Carta.
Yeah, I think what's actually happened here is
What's actually happened here is the Assassin's Creed marketing has gotten badly out of hand.
What's actually happened here is that in response to us maybe suggesting we won't cut the digital service tax, an American Commodore has sailed those black ships into London's harbor and is threatening to bombard us if we don't reduce that 2% levy.
I'm stuck on like American football crowd chanting lengthy sieges, like lengthy sieges.
Yeah.
I got the big foam katana.
Yeah, they're all doing, instead of the defense chant, they're doing siege craft. Siege craft.
It is important though, like as a question in terms of like, what do you mean by ninja sword? Because it's like, okay, well, are katanas safe? Like,
no,
you know,
explicitly not. They're going to come to your house and they're going to take your katana away.
Because a katana is like not really a ninja sword. It's like, you know, it's a sort of noble sword of a samurai. Right?
Yeah. Wakizashi.
So but if you're like banning the tanto, for example, okay, fine. Like,
sure.
yeah, that's shit used by ninjas, right? What about the stars? I don't know. I can't remember what they're called.
Shuriken? Yeah. I mean, the thing is,
yeah.
this follows hot on the heels of the previous government banning zombie knives, which also didn't have, were provided with a definition which was just like, I don't know, it's like a knife, but it looks kind of angry. So now I guess the vibe here is it's a knife, but it looks kind of Japanese.
Which sucks if like you like cutting very thin pieces of fish like I do.
It's time, I think, as a nation, and this is why it's important to do this, for us to realign from being a weeb for Japan to being a weeb for China, right? And so now I'm very excited to see our nation's brave roadmen start doing some like, traditional Chinese martial arts instead. You got like a big wide sword with a red tassel at the end of the pommel. Perfect. Fantastic.
Yeah.
My thinking about like the knife crime thing was always just like, you know, one way that you could tackle it rather than banning things is by sort of teaching the kids who like get caught with these knives, like the way of the sword.
Oh, like
you teach them how to be a noble warrior class, and that way they treat the blade with respect, and knowing that like it's much more honorable to vanquish your enemies with one very clean stroke, but in the nature of beautiful battle
so
under
to
a
teach
tree.
them Bushido.
You solve the problem simultaneously of knife crime and European rearmament because you just deploy the first knife crime regiment on the border with Estonia.
Exactly, you make them a samurai class.
Yes,
right?
and the first Russian that comes across the border is effortlessly beheaded. Perfect.
So there are a few things I'm sort of drawing from this. Number one is that what Keir Starmer and Tokugawa Ieyasu can agree on is that ordinary people should not have a wakizashi, and that should be punishable by law. Secondly,
no fun allowed in this country.
Yeah,
That's like you can't even engage in the humble pleasures of like keeping a really, really sharp Japanese sword.
Yeah, I mean, does that mean I'm allowed to, or I'm not allowed to keep my my big pole arm with the sword on the end? I can't remember what kind of Nihanto that is, but it's really important.
I think that is ninja coded, certainly.
Yeah.
That's a naginata. Those are not affected by current legislation. And importantly, if you want to kill a horse with one stroke or disable a mid-sized car, then the zanbato is also still legal.
If you want to kill any number of things with one stroke, a horse, the list goes on, then that's your weapon, right? And so I think the other thing about the naginata, right, is that it's a religiously protected blade, right, because it marks you out as a Buddhist priest in feudal Japan. So on that basis, I think you could have a claim under some like equalities legislation to be able to carry it around. Is it? Okay.
A vicar is able to carry a naginata.
I've not been to a Church of England in a minute, but I don't remember that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, look, I wanted to get into this. This wasn't even in our news segment. I just saw this. I want to get into a little bit of news.
And the thing is, like, because like knife crime itself, obviously extremely serious. The solutions proposed so profoundly unserious that the best you can get out of them is, 10 minutes about decapitating the horse.
Yeah. Man, what a 10 minutes they are. No, I wanted to actually announce a new vertical for TF. It's a new column in the show that you're going to see come back again and again. Mm-hmm. I call it Hyperb-ification, and it's all about how the US is speedrunning a transformation into the UK.
You get an Adam Curtis B-roll of some American shit happening, and it's like, but then a very British thing happened.
well, indeed.
It's as I put down my Percy pig that I was just chewing on.
Counting down to Trump banning ninja swords.
Yeah, he would never. He understands.
They're too sharp.
I got people going around, they're putting a sheath on everyone. Slipping you right over.
The thing about lengthy sieges is you lose your men and you damage the castle. Better to solve the problem at a stroke. The code of Bushido, they say it's useful. I say it's all ideological. Actually, most problems are solved by answering the question, who can afford more cannon, who has better relationships with the Portuguese and can get muskets.
We got this guy, they call him the Arjun.
Did everything right and they assassinated me. It's gonna be really funny when an assassin crawls into the White House latrine with like a ninja sword and assassinates Trump from below.
Yeah. The first one is an example of the US speedrunning a transformation into the UK is, of course, group chat shenanigans. And I say the word shenanigans advisedly because this is how they are being treated by the U.S. political and media class is group chat shenanigans, as opposed to the justifiable horror.
Yeah, I mean, doing a war crime and like sort of unconstitutional military action in an insecure signal chat does have big like right wing of the Labour Party energy, I'm afraid to say.
Yep.
And that's not something that like this is the niche that I think you need a British podcast for, is to articulate that, because Peter Hegseth doesn't know what like a Labour staffer is, but we do, and we can say they're behaving weirdly convergently.
Yeah, so if you haven't been following the news, just to catch everybody up,
there's a bunch of messages on your phone probably if you open Signal.
Yeah, I'm calling you. I'm like, hey, can you check your Signal?
Me and CENTCOM had some questions.
Yeah, I thought it was weird how the National Security Advisor added every American into the group chat. I mean, I guess it kind of like helps with transparency.
Yeah, it's like they're doing a new approach to democracy. Everybody gets to be in the small group principles committee. The small group is America. What happened was the United States Army basically struck a building in Yemen.
Yeah, well, they did a bunch of strikes. It was a mix of drones and like manned aircraft, right?
But the point was to drop an entire apartment building on the head of one guy they were targeting because that was his girlfriend's house. And they killed a huge number of people. Even the guy they were targeting, of course, was being targeted extrajudicially, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty much continuity with a lot of the stuff that America does, but used to be either embarrassed about or at least try to cover up.
Every president since at the very least Obama has authorized strikes in Yemen, and the US hasn't been at war with Yemen for any of that. So like it's all unconstitutional without Congress signing off on it, which it hasn't. So that's one part of it. Yeah. The other part is that it's like a grotesque war crime in and of itself, right? And then the third part of it is all of these guys are just on Signal posting about it, and one of them added Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic, into the group chat.
Yeah. Former volunteer IDF prison guard himself, Jeffrey Goldberg.
Which explains a lot of his conduct
I do think
in this.
He's on someone's phone as like IDF Jeff, right?
He introduced himself to Vance that way, and he's just like, okay, well, enter the phone you go.
Yeah, there's like someone called Gay Jeff. There's someone called like Turkish Jeff. I don't fucking know. There's IDF Jeff.
God.
Yeah, there's someone called confusingly Atlantic Jeff who's just really good at getting lobster.
If you look in the like people in this group, it's it's IDF Jeff. Weirdly, there's a Russian Jeff and a Chinese Jeff who no one remembers adding in, but
basically, right, there is this story that then gets released where Jeffrey Goldberg first of all just says it was to my horror I was added by mistake by like Michael Waltz to a group chat.
Yeah, he sat in this group chat watching them plan the strikes, and then to establish the veracity of this, he sat in his car in a parking lot waiting for the strikes to happen according to the schedule that Hegseth posted in the chat, and then when they did, he was like, okay, it's real. And to be fair, this is a scary moment for any journalist because you're like, I might catch like an Espionage Act charge. I might get like 3 days of the Condor here. But what our boy Jeffrey did here was remove himself voluntarily from the group chat and not publish a bunch of messages because of like national security implications. Like the national security implications are pretty bad already, dude.
Well, he doesn't want them to add a 4th day of the Condor at him